But of those four that were given number one seeds by the NCAA committee at this point, which of the four do you trust as we get towards March Madness?
I trust UConn. They're dotting all their I's and crossing all their T's. I think it just really comes down to matchups, right? If this is a team that, let's say, faces North Carolina in a 1-2 battle, it could be one of the historic games of recent memory. But they may not see a quality. What they did to Marquette was just unbelievable. If they do that again to someone of that type of ilk, then you'd have to say even Purdue doesn't bother me. Purdue, you always have to consider just because of Edey and his size. Ohio State did an amazing job in defending him. It probably will be a demonstration tape for teams moving forward on how to play him. And if they could be effective with that, I think that could be effective. But UConn is the team that I trust because I don't know if anybody has an answer for them until possibly the final game of the season.
Yeah, I think you're right, too. 14 straight wins, the longest winning streak in D1 right now. Are you going to go with just the favorite? Do you know enough about NASCAR to dig deep and take one of these other guys that's back in the pack? Or are you just going to sit back and just enjoy watching it on a day off anyway?
I'm not going to wager anything, but I do have a theory. First, the reason why they run it first is because this is when your engine is the freshest. This is when your paint's the freshest. This is when your tire's the freshest. So if it was the Super Bowl and people hobbled in like football players do, I mean, you would have wrecks on like lap 5, transmissions just dropping because, the car got used the whole season. Like you might have 2 cars in your entire stock. So look, I did a little digging. If you think about wagering something, I think it's important to know what's the stock of car that's won this race. And then look at some of the players, right? So since 14, it's gone Chevy, Ford, Toyota. Ford, Chevy, Toyota. Toyota, Ford, Ford, Chevy. Ford has won 2 of the last 3. So I would look at players like Joey Logano, who won it in 15. He's a Ford driver. Ryan Blaney won it at the summer race, finished second twice in the 500. He drives a Ford. They're both at plus 1,200. So those are a couple of guys I would look at because they're driving Fords. Fords have won 2 out of the last 3 Daytonas. Now, granted, with the rain, that might change some things, but I would probably look for maybe a little mini Ford dominance here with the storyline under belly, no pun intended on the car, is that Ford would win 3 out of the last 4 Daytonas.
It is interesting that I think for the first 50-some years of the Daytona 500, they never had a rain delay, never had a weather issue at all. And now lately, I think this is the 3rd time in the last 5 years they've had weather issues. Just random. It's dumb luck, but it is weird that for 50-plus years, no problems at Daytona. And now all of a sudden, they can't seem to get out from underneath the rain, at least here recently. I'll probably tune in and watch. I'm not a NASCAR fan. I'm not a racing fan, but the 500, the Indianapolis 500, races like that, you got to flip over because it's just such an American tradition. You got to at least take it a couple laps here and there, don't you?
Yeah, and I'm now on Twitter, on social, saying, boo Bill Rowland. He said he's just going to turn over to it. NASCAR is the great American sport. It stands for National American Stock Car Racing Association, and we're North Americans, right? Right? If you're going to have NBA All-Star games like this, just have it sponsored by the YMCA, right? Because this is literally what you saw was just open gym. We know pro players, you put them in a gym setting, they'll take 100 shots from 20 out and won't miss any of them. You put them in a pro setting, that may drop down to 20% depending on a hand in the face. I want to see a little bit of a hand in the face. Like if Bam Adebayo's taking open threes, that's not a shooting display. That's letting you know that nobody's checking anybody. I get not wanting to get hurt, but ask Kobe Bryant how he felt when Dwayne Wade came down with the elbow in his face in an All-Star game. And that's not a long time ago, right? So I want to see some competition. I will say this. Boy, did the West look a bit old in the tooth. It was just like, whoa, wait. LeBron looked about a half step slower. Jokic is already a half step slower. Doncic pretty much jogs up and down the court. So that made it even a little bit less exciting is here you've got one side of the court where these dudes are just kind of walking up the 24-second shot clock while the other guys are just going, so, I'd love if you're going to have a game like this, put them in their home and away uniforms. Like I get making more. It used to help sell razors at one time. The Gillette, all-star halftime game presented to you by Gillette and the Schick razors on the front or what have you. No, get them to wear their City Connects or something like that, because I get where you're trying to connect the young and the old and the nostalgia of the game. But if you're going to have a game like this, man, at least want me go buy a Tatum jersey, City Connect jersey, or a Littler jersey or something. There's a bunch of guys in red and blues.
Yeah, but at least they went back to the old style, East versus West, instead of and again, cranky old man yelling at cloud. I get it. I didn't like Team LeBron and Team Giannis or whatever they were doing with Team Durant, where you would have the draft. Made no sense to me. Of course, we grew up, AJ, you and I, of East versus West, and it was always that type of all-star game. Bird Magic, Kareem Parrish, all that stuff that went on in those all-star games, Malone and McHale, everything. You wanted to see them battle the 5 best against the 5 best. And you know what? They played a little
Shaq
defense.
And Hakeem, yeah.
Shaq and Hakeem, of course. Even Larry Bird being there in Indianapolis.
Jordan.
Kind of representing the city, said, I hope they do a little competition on Sunday. It never came to fruition.
So, Bill, who is your Monday MVP?
Oh, I get to start off. I thought you were going to go to KJ here, but I'll go ahead and bite the bullet first. Look, it was fun watching the All-Star festivities, of course. That's always a good time. Dame, I guess, winning the three-point contest again back-to-back years and pulling off the feat that hadn't been done since Jordan in 89. Pretty cool. The Steph Curry thing, look, that wasn't even an actual contest, really, right? He was just a one-on-one with him and Sabrina, so that was fun as well. But I'm going to go with Hideki Matsuyama. He wins the golf tournament over the weekend. First, a couple of things for him that was impressive. He's 6 shots back entering the final round. So he's an afterthought as far as somebody who actually may win the golf tournament. So not only did he come from 6 shots down, he ended up tying or setting the all-time final round record of a 62 and was a birdie on 18 that he missed by merely feet. It was close that he would have set the all-time course record for Riviera. I'm going with Matsuyama winning the Genesis Open, 6 shots back on the final round. He sets the final round record. I'm going Matsuyama. He's my MVP on this Monday.
Not so bad there, Bill. But I'm with you. Okay, it was cool that Dame Lillard, wins the NBA All-Star Game MVP, wins the three-point contest again in back-to-back years. But yeah, for some reason, I'm not really getting the festives. Okay, the Steph Curry, Sabrina battle, I guess that was cool. I think, if anything, I would have nominated Sabrina because she scored a 26 shooting from the men's three-point line. And so is there like a prorated score for her that should be in there? But I'm going to go with Jake Diebler beating Purdue. In fact, during the game, they were up by double digits on them. Think about what was just said. He just took the job on Wednesday. So it's not like at 9 that morning, he was now suddenly the head coach. No, like things had to happen. He probably didn't get the job until 2 in the afternoon. He's meeting or talking with the players. And then, oh, by the way, you're game planning for some teams. I think there was a statistical analysis that said that actually Purdue, by a couple of digits, was really the number 1 team ahead of UConn. So you're up double digits and you hold on to win against the number 2 team in the country. You shut 80 down. They have 14 turnovers, and you've done this since Wednesday, right? Like he must have felt like think of a game where someone was like plus 400 on a money line, and you've taken them to take that money line, and you're just watching them ride it. You're like, oh my gosh! Not only did I take the money line, but we're up double digits, and then get the near heart scare of where it gets a tie. It's a tie game with about a minute left. They go to free throws and they end up pulling it off. They beat the number 2 team. They even brought out the 2000 team from Ohio State for good luck. I was like, shoot, like the way things were going is Michael Redd got like another week of eligibility. So I'm going with Jake Diebler, man. This guy took his team from Fire Dome to beating one of the top two teams in the country, really on 2 days rest.